All right, welcome to Postgame Live. The Patriots lose to the Buffalo Bills 27-21. It is the 12th loss of the season for the Patriots. And I know what you're thinking, Patriots fan. You got what you wanted. Some of you are thinking that. We got what we wanted. It was a close game. It was entertaining at times, but the Patriots lose. And as of this moment, fellas, Tommy Curran, Ted Johnson, the Patriots had the second pick in the NFL draft, if the draft were held today, because the Arizona Cardinals won, the Washington Commanders lost, and if you just put it all together in the gumbo, the Patriots, second pick in the draft. But Tommy Curran, if that's not one of your takeaways, what is your number one takeaway from this game?
This team is never uninteresting. 12 losses, and every one of those and every one of the wins has had a storyline to it that goes on forever. And this game, this team, you see him play a divisional opponent. They undress Josh Allen, who's happily undressed at some times by the Patriots, and he's other times sublime. But if you look at this game, the Patriots held down a team that had won 4 out of 5, kept pace, and then you can now, again, with never a shortage of storylines, turn your attention to Bailey Zappe and say, my God, did he just turn into a pumpkin again? Because does he have Tommy DeVito and Josh Dobbs disease, or is this just an aberration? And then you look at the team in general and say, well, they're plucky and they're spunky. They're this close. Are they really, though, Ted Johnson? Are they really that close? Or is this a combination of factors that show up, and even if things were different personnel-wise, they'd probably still end up in the same spot?
I think it's more the latter than the former, to be honest with you, Tom. And you want to know if this was an aberration from Bailey Zappe. This is kind of who he is. He's a streaky guy. I mean, he can show you on one drive that he should be maybe a guy that could be a spot starter in this league, and then on other times you look at him and you go, can't have a role anywhere in the NFL, and that's how it looked, obviously, to start the game in the second half. Not much going there from Bailey Zappe in the second half. Look, I will say this. I think the story of the game of this, just if we're just talking about not big picture, just the micro of this game, is that the defense played its ass off. It really did. But that one play, there's going to be one play that's going to haunt the defense in this game, and it was that first drive the Bills had to start the second half. That long bomb to Dalton Kincaid, their first round tight end that they got. Kyle Duggar just behind him the whole way, can't catch up to him. So them scoring on that opening drive, that was the only points they had. Otherwise, the defense balled out, but giving up that touchdown and that first opening drive to start this second half, that was a killer. This offense clearly not good playing from behind, that being the Patriots offense. And I thought when they returned that kickoff to open the game, I was like, here we go. It's going to be tight. And it was. I mean, they were up, I think, 2 scores there for a little while. But at the end of the day, this was kind of a nip-tuck kind of game, guys.
Yeah, okay. I want you guys to answer the question because you both have kind of thrown it out there. You've called him streaky, Bailey Zappe. You wondered if he's turning back into a pumpkin. All right, you got 7-zip. He comes out, okay, first possession, interception. Then another interception from Bailey Zappe. And then they get a fumble. And so they've got 3 turnovers in the first quarter, and it looks like it's a disaster.
And soon thereafter, a pick 6.
Yeah, what is Bailey Zappe? What is Bailey Zappe from this game? 3 interceptions, but he did score a touchdown. He was competitive, made some throws. He's back to the pumpkin?
No, he's developing as he's a developmental quarterback thrust into a spot where he is playing like many others before they really ought to be, and there are occasions when he plays really well. We talked last year about the fact that he excelled in certain styles of offense where it was one read. Well, this year he's having to solve more complex offenses with the Patriots, and he did a good job after a bad summer of getting up to speed on what he needed to do to be effective, and he showed it. And he has shown poise in the pocket. He has shown the ability to withstand rushes and keep his eyes down the field and not get cowed by the rush and the busyness around him. But he also, with the Demario Douglas pick or with the Devontae Parker pick, he looks at the sideline and puts his hands up and immediately says, well, that's not what they were supposed to do. He has some developing to do there, just as Mac Jones did.
That's not me.
What, my fault?
They have, so what is he?
It's him. He's a developing quarterback who has the potential to be a spot starter you would feel comfortable, hopefully, going into a season with him as a number 2. But he shouldn't be out there in Week 17 unless your team has 4 wins.
Okay, there's 64 starting and backup quarterbacks in this league. I think he's could be anywhere from like 40 to 62, right? Or 64, excuse me. And so to me, he's got a role somewhere on a team. Is it this team? If you're going to say if it's this team, I would worry about him being on this team. If the Patriots right now, you said they're in the number 2 spot. If they were to get a quarterback, and if they stay and hold at number 2 and they get a quarterback in that position, I just don't like Bailey Zappe being in the quarterback room with that number 2 overall pick. And so that's where I'm going to push back a little bit on him maybe being a potential candidate to be a backup or even starter for this team next year.
We have a week in, week out tribute to somebody going on with this defense. Who is it tribute to when they play like this? Because they're missing, as we've talked about today, Jabril Peppers, already Gonzalez, already Judon, and they continue to play like this. It's Bill Belichick's blueprint, but Bill Belichick is spending a lot of his time with the offense and the offensive line. So with Steve Belichick, it's DeMarcus Covington, it's Gerard Mayo, it's Mike Pellegrino. Those are the guys coaching this team and these players right now. So who is this a tribute to when they play like that? Because we're going to, at the end of the day, at some point in this hour-and-a-half conversation, say, well, what does this do for the conversation around Bill? Well, I wonder, what does it do for the conversation around the defensive coaches headed by Mayo and Steve Belichick?
Ted Johnson, my buddy Kevin Harlan said during the broadcast, Steve Belichick makes the defensive calls. And then left it. They're like, okay, what does that mean? So do you give Steve Belichick credit? Do you give Gerard Mayo credit? Or do you give credit to Josh Allen, who at times, he's so talented, but at times he acts like he has to do something outside of his talent that is just so ridiculous and so unnecessary that it keeps teams in the game. And that's why he had another rushing touchdown today, but more, turnovers, just silly turnovers. And he's up there in the league. I think he's at 19 now. So he's up there in production, but he's up there in turnovers. So who do you give credit to?
Are the Bills maybe a little bit complicit just because based on what you said here? Josh, what are you doing there, bro?
What?
I mean, earlier in the game, he had a similar type play. He didn't have a guy draped all over him.
Running the option.
Yeah, right. Okay, so that was a design run play, maybe. But so he maybe thinks he can get away with it, So, look, part of the defense is kind of just domination here in the last, month and a half, 2 months of the season. A lot of it's, let's face it, it's if you could look at a lot of these games and say the other team's been complicit in some of their success on defense, but at the same time, you got to give credit. I mean, especially I've been really impressed, really with this unit. Great. Austin?
Alex Austin.
Alex Austin. He got here like yesterday, didn't he?
But he's not so we would say he's not a frontline player. So we would say, for instance, that Jelani Tavai, they weren't beating a path to his door, or any other number of guys. So when we look at that, is it the blueprint? Is it a specific coach? Is it player development over there? What do you credit for it?
I'm going to try and give you an answer that'll satisfy you here, Tom. I think what I was saying about this defense going into the season, and I said, look, this defense is going to be good. It might not be elite, and I think this is a very good defense. I don't think it's an elite defense, but I think it's a very good defense because there's a lot of guys at key positions that have been here for a long time. When I look, I don't want to say this is. The 2004 defense was pretty damn special,
yes, it was.
Mr. Holley. You know that.
One.
But what made us so good in 2004 was that the guys on defense, most of the guys, the starters, we'd been playing several years together. Like, we knew each other's jobs inside and out. We knew the calls inside and out. We could build on those calls and tweak it from week to week because all of us on defense had played together for so long, and we knew that defense inside and out that we could do some really cool and great things. I think it's not too dissimilar to what's going on this year. They might not have, they're not going to have the players that they'll for, but they have the continuity, the knowledge, and the staying power so that they can go out there and play together as a unit in a way that looks like they have an elite defense.